I've played a lot of strange games lately, and apparently this is what happens when I do. I found a surprisingly thoughtful puzzle game where you play as a traffic cone, loaded up something else to review, then immediately got distracted by Pinball, made some music for woodland animals, found something considerably less peaceful, and then somewhere along the way, quite a few other things happened as well. And, because it's been a while, I want to give you a few glimpses of what my life looks like now, and tell you about it just as much as I want to know what's going on in yours. So welcome back to Untitled Allstar. I went back into dreams looking for something interesting, and I found a game where you play as a traffic cone. And for me, that's an especially strong pitch in a year where Scottish people briefly did take over Boston with traffic cones. It's simply called Cone, and at first glance, I assumed it was going to be one of those short joke games, you know, those sorts of ones where you just shuffle around a little bit, explore a strange world, maybe do a couple of silly things, and then that would probably be it. Instead, the full playthrough took me about an hour, and that's because Cone is actually a proper 3D puzzle adventure, mostly revolving around exploring the environment, finding objects, and then working out where those objects might be useful. There isn't a huge amount of hand-holding either, so quite often you'll pick something up without really knowing why, wander off somewhere else, and then 20 minutes later suddenly think, hang on, I've not tried making this thing interact with that thing yet. And then as the game goes on, it gradually starts asking a little bit more from you. You see, because early on, most of the challenge is simply understanding the environment and making connections between the things you find. Later on though, movement and positioning become a much bigger part of the puzzles as well. Eventually, you even unlock the ability to jump, and I realise that doesn't sound particularly exciting, but when you have spent a substantial amount of time previously experiencing life as a largely earthbound traffic cone, then suddenly gaining vertical movement feels like a major technological breakthrough. This isn't even the first excellent Dreams puzzle adventure built around a suspicious pointy protagonist. Triangle is Sentient did something very different with the idea back in 2021, becoming one of Media Molecule's favourite Dreams creations that year and later earning Impey's recognition. Cone reminded me of it almost immediately, but not because the two games are especially alike mechanically, just because they both take a wonderfully strange central character and then build something much more thoughtful around them. And that is definitely true here. I'm deliberately being quite careful about what footage I show, because a lot of the enjoyment for me came from discovering the world and figuring things out for myself. And the further that you do get into Cone, the clearer it becomes that the traffic cones aren't just there because traffic cones are funny. The imagery really starts to tell you something. Cones are lined up, packed together, put where they're supposed to be, and as you move further away from that, the world around you becomes increasingly strange. There is very clearly a story underneath all of this. And I don't want to spell out exactly what it's doing, because I think that would take away some of the experience, but there are some pretty obvious ideas here about individuality, conformity, and what happens when everyone is expected to look, behave, and live in exactly the same way. And honestly, I really wasn't expecting to be thinking about any of that when I first started moving a traffic cone around. It's occasionally cryptic, and there were definitely moments where I did spend far too long wandering around with some random object, wondering what on earth I was supposed to do with it, but that also means that when you finally make the connection, solving something genuinely feels satisfying. And visually, I like the way that the journey changes as well. What begins in much more open spaces gradually becomes colder, darker, and more industrial, without the game ever needing to sit you down and explain exactly what you're supposed to take from that. By the end, what looked like a funny little novelty turned into a surprisingly thoughtful and substantial puzzle adventure. Apparently, there are even 3 endings. I only got ending 1, and getting ending 1 took me almost an hour, so after careful consideration, I have decided that ending 1 is the correct and canon ending, and there's no further investigation required from me, but I do implore you all to check it out, because Cone is good, Dreams remains weird, and that's exactly why I keep looking. Nobody ever tells you that Lawn Bowls is basically a roguelike. New run started, build type, overconfident drawer, random grass modifier, opening bowl terrible, run reset. If you like old school falling block puzzle games like Puyo Puyo, Dr. Mario or Columns, there's a surprisingly competent little version of that which came out while I wasn't exploring Dreams. The presentation is extremely basic, as you can see, but the game itself works really well. You drop coloured pairs into the playfield, try to connect matching pieces, and then set up clears while your very own imp gets a prominent role as well. There are also several rule settings before you start, including the number of colours, the width of the board, and how many pieces you need to connect before they disappear. But that's only something that I know now. While actually playing it, I mostly just changed those settings until something happened and I had to figure it out myself. Unfortunately, I also made this recorded game far too easy, reached the point where I realised I could probably keep going for quite a long time, and therefore conducted a deliberate experiment into gathering footage of the game over screen, and by the way, that looks fine. It's not one of the flashiest things I've found in Dreams, but underneath the very simple presentation is a perfectly functional little Puyo-style puzzle game, and sometimes that's just enough.
And there's Henri. He's like a laxative. He's straight through you and you're absolutely powerless to do anything about it. And everyone's standing around going, what the hell was that?
This looks like a lost PS1 Resident Evil game, but it was actually made inside Dreams. Resident Evil Code Extinction has fixed cameras, claustrophobic corridors, inventory management, zombies, and that unmistakable feeling that opening any door could be a terrible idea.
Oh, that's my finger, Fanny.
So, the evening of this specific recording, I actually loaded up Dreams intending to spend a bit more time with a specific fighting game that came out recently. Then I checked my notifications, and somebody whose recommendations I've learned to trust had sent me a brand new pinball game. So obviously, I played that instead. This is Synapse by Elizabeth Vitae, and it's a single pinball table with this wonderfully dark biomechanical sci-fi look. It's not trying to be a huge pinball collection or anything like that, it's just one table, one score to chase, and a ball that I immediately became far too invested in keeping alive. The presentation is really atmospheric and the table feels good to play, and there are some lovely little lighting changes and effects as things start happening. But this is one of the things that I love about Dreams. I had gone in specifically to play something else, and within about 30 seconds of loading up, I had found myself completely distracted by a game that I previously didn't know even existed. Anyway, look, eventually I remembered why I had loaded up Dreams in the first place. This is simply called Fighting Game by Kobu Mike. I've played a little bit of this now, and the idea is quite unusual. Rather than being a traditional real-time fighting game, you choose attack or defend, and then the success of what you've chosen depends partly on reacting to quick-time prompts. So there's a mixture of tactics and execution going on. The more I played it though, the more it actually reminded me of Samurai Slash by Benji Dixon, one of the really early Dreams creations, which was already doing something similar with reaction-based one-on-one duels. And that's not necessarily a criticism, because Dreams has existed for long enough now that new Dreams games can even have their own Dreams influences. And Fighting Game does have some ideas of its own. When I went back and I tried survival mode, I finally worked out about using the entire support card system that's been built into the game, and I had basically missed that during my first fight. You build up a resource, which I'm going to call the fist meter, during battle, and you can spend it on cards which give you different advantages, adding another tactical layer on top of choosing your attacks and reacting to the prompts. Survival itself then has you fighting increasingly powerful opponents, trying to see how far you can get. There's also player versus player and team battle, so there's actually more here than I initially realised from that first match, but I am on my own here, so I've nobody to play with, unfortunately. After spending some time with it, I don't think that the core fighting experience grabbed me quite as much as I initially would have hoped, and I do think it would be more fun in multiplayer. But the card system is really interesting, and there are some other nice ideas here as well, along with great presentation and some fun vocal effects. But a few of those ideas are also surprisingly easy to miss. For example, very near the end of my playthrough, my finger accidentally slipped and pressed L1. And it was in that moment that I discovered that L1 changes your character's costume. There is absolutely nothing in this game that tells you this. So I left a comment. And of course I left a couple more as well, because I just can't help myself, right? But ultimately, it's a cool little feature, and it would be a shame if most people never knew that it existed. And I think that's roughly where I land on Fighting Game as a whole. There are good ideas here. The support cards give it a little extra depth, and there are several ways to play, and I'd be interested to see it develop further. It just didn't quite hook me in the way that some of the other things I've found on this particular trip through Dreams have. Although, to be fair, it did accidentally introduce me to a pretty good pinball table.
Kids pack. We are going on a road trip.
Yay.
No. Yes. No. Yes. No. Yes. No. Yes. No. Yes. No. Yes. Where? It's surprised. Okay.
Alright, so I was on Reddit earlier today, and I saw that this person, Detective Mayor 7, was asking someone to make a video about his game. Now, I don't know specifically what he wants the video to be or anything, but look, here's his game. I'm gonna play it. Here's a video about his game. Let's go. Oh, we're straight in here. Now, it's called Dread Silhouette. Apparently, we're trying to break into a neighbour's house. And it's a horror. It's certainly already quite scary. Right, let's go. So yeah, it sets the scene here. We've got horror atmosphere, and we've got this sign. I cannot decipher that code, but hey, maybe that comes into play later on in the game as some sort of puzzle. There's a big R1 and an arrow. I guess we go. Oh, I opened the door with R1. What's this way though? What's the arrow pointing to? R1, what's this? Aha, okay. How do I stand up? How do I get higher? Okay, I can jump. My person just seems very small. It's like they're on their knees. Although, maybe they're just very small. That's not a problem. I don't know what this is, but I've done it. Alright, I've done it. There's another one, right? No? Okay. There's a lot of light coming out of this air vent. I think that's suspicious. Right. Is this my neighbour's house? What do I need to steal? This is like one of those speak and spell things, eh? It's quite creepy. I know it's a radio, but it talks like a speak and spell. Okay, so that's interesting. So, was that an intro? Or, oh no, it's 990. Oh. Okay. I was going to say, is that an intro where I play the person in the house going to bed and then awake and then I take the role of the burglar at night? But no. Look, I don't want to leave my house. Oh, no. No. I don't want to leave my house. Oh, Thing is, if this is happening, I don't want to go and investigate that. Can I not just call the police and have them deal with it? You know what I mean? Why have I got to go and sort this out? I'm only a small person. Oh, but I am only a small person. Look at the size of me. I'm not even taller than this fence. Oh, I'm now stuck in the fence. Okay, right. Right. That mailbox is massive, by the way. Can I go back to bed? The hell? Shut the door. No, that mailbox is massive. I could almost live inside that mailbox, but also that music's horrible, by the way. Let's see, the closer I get, the less I can think, because that music's driving me insane. Right, let's go. Let's brave it. There he is, by the way. There's a camera. He's in the wall. Why can I now see through that wall? Just have a wee rest from that. What am I supposed to do here? What's the actual objective? Also, why is there a slide from the roof all the way down? Or like a massive chimney? Is that the chimney? I don't know, man. I'm gonna go in the house. I'm gonna let him get me. Someone put an end to this, right? Here we go. Oh, he got me. There we go. Oh. Looks a bit like Bob Hoskins, eh? Why is Bob Hoskins robbing my house, though? Right. What's going on now? That mailbox is massive, man. Okay. Okay. Oh. Oh. Joji chat, yep. Right. I think I might be done. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do or where to go. And there is a big bald man out to get me. Look, I made a video of your game, man. Let's see if anyone else makes one as well. There's a key that unlocks certain doors. There's a key. Right, we've got a key. That probably means we can open this door, right? Just logically speaking. Okay, no, it's not this door. What about this corridor up here? I mean, we do have a key for the door. But which door? That's the question. Logic would dictate to me that the key is for the door, but just double check these. Am I being grumpy? What's the door? Here we go. Wow. Do I have the key? I've got a key. I'm trying to be fair to it, you know? Genuinely, it looks the part and it sounds the part, and... Where's my door? You know what I mean? Has anyone seen my door? Look, what's this key for? Am I being an idiot?
Every time I load up Dreams, I always find something that reminds me of exactly why I used to love exploring it so much. One of my favourite creators, Stankank, has spent years making brilliant little musical toys as well as funny little games. And his latest creation puts a collection of synthesizers in the middle of a forest, so naturally, I made a beat for the wildlife. The whole thing, as with the rest of their musical toys, is wonderfully simple. You pick an instrument, you play a little phrase, you record it, and you leave it looping while you move on to the next one. So we're going to start off with some beats here, obviously. Alright, yeah, feeling this one. Okay, this'll do. Okay, now we've got the drums, let's add in a bit of bass. Alright, now let's move over to this little machine and press a bunch of buttons with confidence in the knowledge that it will produce a banger. Okay, yeah, I like that, I'm digging it. Alright, now here we go, let's use the Adios Gato to add some synth. And okay, we've encountered a little limitation here. You can't record two keys at once, but that's okay. Let's give it another go. There we go, that'll do for me. And now we're going to move on to add some chords. Okay, I think I'm ready to record. Next loop. And there we go, this is how these toys get you, because one more sound becomes one more layer, and now you need to know what everything else is going to add. But I'm definitely one step further towards my first Woodland album, and at least the audience are also supportive, because the deer has not left. Anyway, that was Camping with Synthesizers by Stankank, a tiny musical toy, and a very patient Woodland audience. But it's exactly the sort of thing that makes streams worth revisiting.
Out of the car, kiddos. Hi, we are needing your pancakes.
I have nothing.
Okay.
Alright, so I loaded up Dreams again recently, and I discovered that Subob 14 has made possibly the purest video game premise imaginable, right? I've been placed in this room containing a random number of jelly beans, and my entire job is just to guess how many there are. There's no collecting, there's no enemies, there's no tragic jelly bean backstory, it's just me and my eyes. So, how are we going to do this? We can see obviously there's a bunch on the floor here. There's none strewn across this desk, but there are some on the floor here. Now, genuinely, how are we going to figure this out? We can't really go around and count them all, that's just madness. We're not going to spend an hour doing that, right? So, do we sort of split the room up into sections, take an average of how much is in each section, and then hope we get close? Like here's a bunch on the floor here, right? How many are here? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. So there's at least 35 in this little corner, right? There's probably more hidden away as well, actually. Might be behind there. You never know where the jelly beans are hiding. But there's about 35, right, in this section. Is that about an eighth of the room? Maybe? I don't think it's a ninth of the room. It's maybe, I don't know. It's more likely to be a ninth. I don't know. Look, ignore me. But this is essentially the school fair game of like, guess how many sweeties are in the jar, except someone smashed the jar and they've scattered the evidence across this entire 70s looking office. It's pretty cool from Subob, and if you're not aware of the work of Subob, they've created a game called Event Control, which is well worth checking out as well. So yeah, like, there's a cluster here, right? There's a few beside the furniture. And there might be some hiding behind here, because apparently now this is also a stealth game, but I shouldn't really be assigning personalities to the jelly beans, that's just not appropriate. Like, my immediate professional assessment is that yes, there are several jelly beans within the room, and apparently humans are actually quite good at instantly recognising groups of up to about 4 things without counting. It's called subsidising, but look, there's definitely more than 4 jelly beans here. It's kind of vibes-based mathematics. Is that a whole cluster of jelly beans down there? No, it's just a furry rug. Don't worry, it's just a furry rug. Right, so I'm going to increase my guess, right? I've kind of got a rough idea. I've got a figure in my head. I've been thinking about it. And we're going to have to hold this button for a moment until we get there. I'm thinking we're in the 800s, right? It's just a guess, it's in the 800s. But the thing is, before I submit that, and while this is still going up, have a guess yourself, alright? Pause the video, and let me know in the comments, like, what your guess is. How many jelly beans are in this room? I know 800 seems a lot when you consider we're mainly seeing them scattered about the floor, but I think they're devious. Honestly, I don't know. I think, you know what I mean? And I think there's, yeah, look at that, loads of them down here. So there we go, alright. But there's a genuine wisdom of crowds thing going on, where, like, apparently when crowds do, like, guess things, ultimately the median often is, like, accurate. It's weird, man. It's like some psychological thing. Anyway, look, put your guess in the comments. I'm gonna say this number, alright? I'm gonna say that. This game is obviously a very small proof of concept. It's just got one room and one simple interaction, but I really like it because it takes that familiar jelly bean jar guessing game and it makes it spatial. You know, you're not just staring through the glass, you're moving around, checking corners, judging distances, and trying to remember whether you already counted the suspicious yellow one beside the chair. And did I, by the way? I better increase my guess by 1. Oh, I increased it by 2. Wait a minute. There we go.
I could imagine this expanding into different rooms, moving jelly beans, camouflage, time limits, guessing only one colour, multiplayer guesses, daily challenges, but it's also clearly an absolute streamer's dream for audience participation, isn't it? Everyone watching can make a guess before the player submits, and then everyone can argue about the suspicious bean that was being stealthy. Even in this basic form, it already has that dangerous one more round quality. And once I do submit this guess, then it will, tell me how accurate I was. I'll get a score based on that, and then we'll respawn back in the same room with a different number of jelly beans to do it all again. It's pretty cool. Even in this simple form, it does have that dangerous one more round quality. And ultimately, yes, a game about standing in a room and estimating jelly beans can be quite clever, strangely compelling, and another reminder that a good game does not need 400 mechanics. Sometimes it just needs beans. Look at that, 0.396. It's not very accurate, there's only 336, but hey, who was right in the comments? Dreams is home to beautiful art, heartfelt stories, and imaginative worlds. It is also home to Chairman of Pain. This is essentially a score attack game about launching a man into things as violently and inefficiently as possible. Just think of the old PS3 game Pain, except someone's recreated the basic idea and then added their own collection of increasingly questionable decisions. You just choose your angle, throw your man into the environment, and try to cause as much cartoon damage as possible before everything stops moving. And the strange thing is, it's really well made. There are actual proper menus, character customization, presentation and scoring systems here, considerably more polished than a game about firing a man into a staircase has any right to possess. It's gross, it's stupid, and it's absolutely not going to be for everyone. But for about 5 minutes, I had a very good time discovering just how professionally somebody had constructed a game about hurting this particular man. Dreams remains a broad church.
After what we were discussing on the show this week, Robin, I've got a surprise for you. Because on the show, please welcome the brilliant Ali, the Lollipop Man. Hey, Ali.
Yeah, hello, good morning.
Welcome to Capital Breakfast. This is so exciting. The first time I have to say that we've ever interviewed a Lollipop Man, so we're buzzing about this. How are you? How was your morning?
Yeah, the morning was lovely. Thankfully, we've been having nice weather at the moment. Obviously, it's much better in summer than it is in the winter, right? As I'm sure you can imagine.
I can only apologise for having you here, Ali. It was almost lost in translation. Our fat seems to think that I fancy all lollipop men.
Well, the reason this came up was because you might have seen the fella. What was his name again, Robin?
Tobias. He's the hot podium guy.
Yeah, the hot podium guy. That his job is to basically bring out the podium, make sure the mic's working if the Prime Minister makes a speech on Downing Street. So we then started talking about other professions that people find attractive, and Robin said lollipop men. A full-chested declaration was made on Capital Breakfast. She said it with her chest, her whole chest, and nothing but her chest. Now, is this something that you have had before?
I can't say I have, right? I've been doing it for around a year, and look, everyone's managed to keep themselves in check. I've not encountered anything with any of the parents thus far.
Well, yeah. Well, we've got so many questions to ask you, Ali. So first of all, is it called lollipopping if you're a lollipop person?
I'm fine with the terminology lollipop man. It's kind of cute, isn't it? It's cool.
It is cute.
I like it.
Is.
So have you ever been sad if you've been out there lollipopping for a while and then you've got one of your pupils graduating? So have you got any of your favourites that are leaving this summer?
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the thing. Yeah, I'm seeing all the primary sevens leave. I mean, it's my first school year, so it's, I've watched them grow over the year, and it's I'm trying not to get emotional.
Well, you must build such a rapport with the folk that you see walking up and down the street every single morning. Do you feel a bit protective over them sometimes? Do you stare down cars?
That's exactly what I do. I stare them down.
Do you like a bouncer in a way, to be fair?
That's it, right into the eyes.
But the thing is, you sound too friendly to intimidate a car, but I imagine that the outfit does it as well with the big lollipop stick and all.
Trust me, it does. Yeah, it works.
I love this. You know, a question I've always wanted to ask, Ali, is that pole heavy?
It's actually not, It's, I think it's made of like some light aluminium of some sort, and also fold up so they can be transported as well, which is cool. A lot of people don't know that.
That's blowing my mind.
So, whenever I'm like at the end of a shift and I'm folding it up and there's like still a kid around who's just crossed the road, they're like, wow, we didn't know they'd done that. That's magic. One time a kid even asked me if I actually live inside the lollipop stick, which was a bit weird. But that's the thing, man. Kids come out with the craziest stuff.
That's so
and,
cute.
it's a really fulfilling job in that respect.
So, interestingly, I've actually only ever seen a lollipop person in situ. I've never seen one walking around. So do you guys get changed at location? Or do you walk to work dressed as a lollipop person?
Well, some do and some don't. I'm fortunate that I do keep my stuff at the school, but I do have colleagues who do walk like to their job in their jacket and with their stick and
With the
everything.
stick. Interesting.
So tell me, when it comes to the summer holidays, Ali, what's the plan? Do you go back into your lollipop and you stay there for the 6 weeks and then you come back out of hiding?
Pretty much. I mean, I'll be telling one of the children in particular that I will be going inside my stick and staying there for 6 weeks. Yeah.
Hey, listen, this has been so interesting, and we really appreciate you joining us on the show this morning, Ali. Thank you so much for joining us on Capital Breakfast. And before you head off, is there anything you would like to say to Scotland and to anyone wrapping up school for the year?
You know what? I hope it's been a good one, but also when you come back, remember to say good morning to your lollipop people.
I love that.
Good morning, Ali. You're the best.
Good morning,
Thank you
Ali.
so much, Ali, for joining us on the show. We've just had a lollipop man on the show.
Hey.
Look, and that's it. It's been a long time since I made one of these, but I've loved doing it. I've obviously been playing lots of games again lately, spending a lot of time exploring dreams as well, but this show was never really meant to be about one game, or even just about games. It's basically just somewhere for me to put the interesting things I find, the things I make, and whatever strange little side quests happen along the way. And apparently, I do still have quite a lot of those. So thank you for watching, especially, well, you have made it to the end, right? So I think I'd like to do another one.
Sometimes when the world tosses you around, it can be hard to figure out which way is up and which way's down. Sometimes it feels like you'll never get your feet back on the ground. So take it all in as you float through an endless tunnel of sound. Sometimes when you're floating in the stratosphere, counting all the stars in the evening sky as they appear. When you're up this high, things have never seemed so clear. Sounds of distant memories echo in your ear. I'm floating.